Ladies and gentlemen, bon appétit. I am very delighted to be here and to see this coalition of organizations fighting for a better world. You can imagine that it is not very easy to speak after our president, Cardoso. Don Fernando Henrique is really an outstanding leader, I would say, and a very committed person for the well-being of his citizens and Latin America and the whole world. So we are very proud to work with him and recognize his moral leadership. So I was asked to speak about what countries can do to change a little bit the old traditional drug policy, giving priority, exclusivity, a lot of means also, of financial means, of human means, to the pure repression. Repression not only of the real big international criminal organization, but also the repression day by day to the people who consume drugs, who deal with little quantity of drugs, who produce drugs for themselves, who are perhaps in danger for them, but not for the whole society. So what the Global Commission, I think, in his conclusion, say is that the complexity of the drug issue needs a consistent response, and the consistent response cannot be just a repressive one. So what are the other elements that we have to bring in balance with a certain repression? Because everybody knows that we don't want to abandon the world to criminal organization, but to make their profit less important, to make their customers less numerous. So the other elements are really the element linked with the action and measures in public health. But there is a link between the two things. I mean, a link between public health and the wish really to take the people off the hands of the criminals. And this is the experience Switzerland did, and some other countries are doing or were doing also before Switzerland, as the UK is a good example, with the prescription of legal heroin. I mean, and this is just an example that could be, I think, with some other efforts of experimenting them and knowing exactly what are the consequences, positive and negative consequences, is a way not only to help the people, but to take them off the market, off the illegal market. So Switzerland began really 18 years ago with experimenting prescription with legal heroin. Not only just distributing heroin, but integrating the prescription of heroin as a basis for therapeutic and social integration. With this element, we could really help people who were not able to enter in a more ambitious therapeutic process, aiming for abstinence or aiming for other kind of substitution which are not so gratifying as heroin can be. But in the meantime, I think we took off the street more or less all the real profound addict population on heroin, because we offered them the possibility to receive legal heroin from the state in polyclinics linked with other medical and social activities. Another example, I would say, is to show the link between medical, public health approach and the fight against the power of the criminal organization is our attempt, which was a failure in Switzerland, but others will take over this field, the attempt to regulate other markets of other substance, and the first of all must be cannabis. Cannabis is now really a kind of consumption that is very close to the consumption of alcohol, and I see some glasses of our tables, and the consumption of tobacco. And what we can see is really that we were more successful in the fight against alcoholism, the harms of alcohol consumption and the harm of tobacco consumption than we are in the harm of cannabis consumption. So that we are trying, and we tried in Switzerland, now Spain is trying in a certain way, also Portugal, to regulate this market, to tolerate under certain conditions, not only the consumption as the Dutch do, but also the production and the selling of this substance. What I try to say is just that with this two example, that putting not only priority but all the means on repression is just a way not to deal with the complexity of the problem. My answers I explain here are perhaps for many people answers of a rich country. Now, you are mainly interested in the development of less rich countries, of countries of the south and of this planet. But I'm sure that looking not only for alternatives with other products, for instance, in the landscape of Afghanistan or the Andean countries, but looking also for a better use of a legal use of the production of this country, we can help really to deliver them, to liberate them from the power of those who try to push them in their production for an illicit market. So I think I just tried to show that the approach in the development, in the kind of repression we make, in the public health and so are linked. What we consider is that in the countries, but also on the international level, the consistency of these policies, the playing together of these different policies are not realized. And I think this must be our greatest effort, to bring together the actors of the different chapters of the policy, development policy, human rights policy, public health policy, repression policy, and so on, to bring them together to a more consistent policy in the drug issue. And I'm sure, and I'm happy to see how numerous you are, that each of you has something to contribute in this battle, who is now poisoning really the world and poisoning the life and taking the life of so many people. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your commitment.